I bought the mirror for $40 from an estate listing. Tall, framed in black, with a small digital clock glowing in the upper corner. The photos hadn't shown the hairline crack down the left edge. I didn't care. $40 for a smart mirror was a steal. The seller was the dead woman's nephew. He met me in the driveway in a coat too thin for the cold, kept glancing back at the house, and never once asked my name. He helped me load it fast, like he wanted it out of his hands. "It still works," he said. She kept it in her bedroom. Then he said one more thing low that I didn't think about until much later. "Don't stand in front of it too long." I laughed. He didn't. He shut his trunk and drove off without waving. I set it up in my hallway that night. The clock blinked awake. It read 9:48. My phone read 9:44. 4 minutes fast, a cheap clock that never synced right, I figured. I told myself I'd fix it and went to bed. I never fixed it. Over the next week, the mirror became part of the house, the way new things quietly do. I stopped seeing it at all. Then one morning I waved at myself, half asleep, the way you do. My reflection waved back a full second after I did. Lag in a tired brain, I decided. But I leaned close, raised my hand slowly, and watched. The reflection followed, late. My mouth went dry, and I couldn't yet say why. Something in my chest pulled tight and cold. I stood there far longer than I should have, telling myself there was nothing to test, while I tested it again and again. By the weekend, the delay was gone. But it hadn't corrected, it had flipped. Now my reflection moved first, and I followed it. I'd reach for the light switch and watch my own hand already reaching, a half beat ahead, like a video playing just before its sound. That was when the clock made sense, and the sense of it frightened me more than the lag ever had. The reflection wasn't lighting by accident. It was living 4 minutes into my future, and those glowing numbers had been telling me so since the first night. I should have unplugged it. I didn't. I was fascinated. A clock running fast, I kept saying, as if the words could outvote my own eyes. So I tested it properly. I stood in the dark hallway at night and watched my reflection do things before I did them. It scratched its cheek. 4 minutes later, my cheek itched and I scratched it. It yawned. 4 minutes later, so did I. Then one evening, the reflection turned its head toward the front door. Sharp, alert, listening to something. I was staring straight ahead at nothing. 4 minutes later, the knock came. 3 slow knocks. I hadn't moved. I just stood there, staring at glass that had already heard them. My skin crawled. The reflection hadn't reacted to me. It had reacted to something that hadn't happened yet. It wasn't showing me myself anymore. It was showing me what was coming. I opened the door. No one. Just the cold and the dark and my own breath fogging out into the porch light. After that, I couldn't stop watching. The mirror was a window into the next 4 minutes, and I let myself believe that was a gift. It warned me, it flinched before I dropped a glass. It covered its ears before the smoke alarm shrieked over a burnt dinner. I started living by it, checking it before I left a room. Trusting it over my own eyes, 4 minutes ahead and never once wrong. Then it began doing things I hadn't done yet, not reactions, choices. One night, the reflection walked out of frame entirely while I stood still. I waited, heart slamming, for the urge to walk away to reach me. It never came. 4 minutes passed, I hadn't moved. But the glass stayed empty. When it returned, it was holding something, a folded piece of paper. My own hands hung empty at my sides, and a cold understanding started before I had words for it. 4 minutes later, I found the note on my hallway floor, folded, a woman's handwriting. I knew whose before I opened it, and the knowing turned my stomach. It said, "It learns you, then it doesn't need you. Don't let it catch up." The ink was old, the fold was older. I read those last 4 words again and again. Don't let it catch up. The gap wasn't a quirk in a cheap clock. It was a countdown, and I had been watching it tick all week without once hearing it. I checked the clock then. The mirror read 2:11. My phone read 2:07, 4 minutes. I let out a breath, still 4, still safe. The next night it was 3. The mirror ran 3 minutes ahead, not 4. The gap was closing, and I finally understood what closing would mean. When the clocks matched, the future and the now would be the same place. Whatever lived 4 minutes ahead would be standing right here, with me. I called the nephew. He answered on the first ring, like he'd been sitting by the phone for a year. "She stood in front of it too long," he said quietly. We found the mirror in her room. We never found her. Just the mirror running right on time, right down to the second. Then he hung up. Right on time, the phrase sat in my gut like a swallowed stone. The day the mirror's time met her time, it had finished her. It had taken her. And it was already halfway to me. I decided to break it. I walked to the hallway with a hammer. The reflection was already there, waiting, holding its own hammer, ahead of me, the way it was ahead of everything. It smiled. I wasn't smiling. It lifted the hammer. I lifted mine. And I realized I could no longer tell which of us was leading the other. I swung, so did it. The glass didn't break. My hammer stopped an inch from the surface, like the air had gone solid, and my arm shook against nothing. I backed away. The reflection didn't. It stayed at the glass, hammer lowered, watching me retreat, patient as something that already knows it has won. The mirror read 3:13. My phone read 3:11, 2 minutes. I could feel them sliding together, like 2 hands closing into one fist. I unplugged it. The clock kept glowing. I pulled the cord all the way out, held it up in my fist, and the numbers did not go dark. 3:14 on the mirror, 3:13 on my phone, 1 minute. The reflection raised its hand and pressed its palm flat against the inside of the glass. And I understood finally what it had spent the week practicing. Not my gestures, not my habits, me. For 7 days it had been learning patiently how to be me, and now there was nothing left in me that it didn't already have. It was better at it than I was, smoother, more certain. While I stood shaking in my hallway, it stood calm in its hallway, ready, ahead. I tried to run, my legs moved toward the front door. In the glass, the reflection was already there, already turning the lock. I heard my own deadbolt slide shut on its own. 4 minutes early, no, not 4 anymore, almost none. The future was arriving right on top of me. The mirror read 3:15. I lifted my phone with a hand I could barely hold steady. 3:15, they matched, they finally matched. For one held breath, nothing happened. Maybe I'd been wrong, I let myself hope. Maybe a clock was only ever a clock, and I had imagined every minute of this. Then the reflection stepped forward, not into the glass, out of it. It came through the way you step through an open door. It stood in my hallway, breathing my breath, wearing my face, calm where I was anything but. And it looked at me the way I had once looked at it. Curious, fascinated, as if I were the strange thing now. Then it turned and walked into my kitchen, into my life, without once looking back. I tried to follow, I couldn't. The hallway tilted and slid and folded me backward into something flat and cold and 4 minutes deep. Now I live in the glass. I watch the rooms from inside the clock. I see him eat my dinner, answer my phone, sleep in my bed. And every night I press my hands to the inside of the mirror and I knock, 3 slow knocks. He hears them coming, he never answers.